In the small village of Gboko, time moved slowly. People measured their days by the rising and setting of the sun, not by clocks or calendars. Farmers woke early to tend their crops and returned home when darkness fell. In Gboko, people believed that good things came to those who waited patiently. This is where Adana grew up. She was the only child of her mother, who had passed away when Adana was just 12 years old. Her father had died even earlier, leaving her to be raised by her grandmother. From a young age, Adana learned to work hard. She fetched water before sunrise, helped in the farm, and cooked meals without complaining. By the time she became a young woman, everyone in the village knew her as someone who was kind, hardworking, and beautiful in a quiet way. Before the pain came, there was happiness. Adana met Chidi during a village festival. He was tall and gentle, with a smile that made her feel safe. Unlike other young men who talked loudly and showed off, Chidi was different. He spoke softly and listened carefully when others talked. Their friendship grew slowly. Chidi would wait for Adana after she finished her work in the farm. They would walk together, talking about small things like the weather, the crops, and village gossip. Sometimes they sat under the big mango tree near the stream, sharing stories and dreams. Adana noticed how Chidi looked at her with eyes full of warmth. When he laughed at her jokes, her heart felt light. When he was not around, she found herself looking for him. The village elders began to notice them together and smiled knowingly. Young love was always easy to see. One evening, as they sat under the stars, Chidi held her hand and spoke seriously. He told her about his dreams of making a better life. He wanted to give her more than what the village could offer. He talked about going to the city to find work, to earn money, and to build a future for them both. Adana's heart sank. She had heard stories of young men who left for the city and never returned. But when she looked into Chidi's eyes, she saw sincerity. He promised he would come back. He promised they would get married. He promised their life together would be worth the wait. Adana believed him. How could she not? Love made promises feel like certainty. The day Chidi left, Adana stood at the village entrance, watching until he disappeared down the dusty road. Her grandmother touched her shoulder and said, "A bird that flies away may find another tree." But Adana shook her head. Chidi was different. He would return. The first few months were bearable. Chidi sent letters regularly. He wrote about the crowded city, the noise, the hard work, and how much he missed home. He missed her most of all, he said. Each letter ended with the same promise: "I am working hard for us. Wait for me." Adana read each letter many times. She kept them in a small box under her sleeping mat. At night, she would take them out and read them again by candlelight. His words gave her hope. During this time, other men began to notice Adana. Young farmers came to her compound with gifts. Traders from neighboring villages sent their relatives to speak on their behalf. Even a wealthy man who owned many plots of land expressed interest in marrying her. Her grandmother encouraged her to consider these offers. "A woman should not wait forever," she said. "What if he does not come back?" But Adana refused them all politely. "My heart belongs to someone," she would say. "He will return soon." After 6 months, the letters became less frequent. Where Chidi used to write every 2 weeks, now a month would pass before she received anything. When letters did come, they were shorter. He wrote less about missing her and more about how difficult life in the city was. Adana made excuses for him. "He must be very busy," she told her grandmother. "Working hard takes all his time." More suitors came. Some were patient men who promised never to leave. Some were kind men who offered her immediate security. But Adana turned them all away. She had made a promise to wait, and she would keep it. By the end of the first year, the letters stopped completely. Adana waited by the road whenever travelers came from the city, hoping for news. Sometimes she heard things. Someone said they saw Chidi doing well. Another person said he looked different, like the city had changed him. But no one brought her a letter. No one brought her a message from him directly. Still, Adana waited. She worked harder in the farm to keep her mind busy. She helped her grandmother more. At night, she prayed that Chidi was safe and that he still remembered his promise. Her grandmother grew worried. "My child," she said gently, "you are wasting your youth waiting for someone who may have forgotten you." But Adana could not accept that. "He promised," she would say firmly. "Chidi does not break his promises. What Adana did not know was that in the city, Chidi's life had taken a different path. The loneliness and struggle had weakened his resolve. He had met someone else, a woman who was there during his difficult times. Slowly, without meaning to, he had fallen in love again. His promises to Adana became memories that felt distant and unclear. 2 years after Chidi left, the village drums began beating one afternoon. It was a special rhythm that everyone recognized. A wedding procession was coming. Adana was washing clothes by the stream when she heard it. At first, she did not pay attention. Weddings were common, but the drums grew louder, and people began rushing toward the main road. Curious, Adana followed them. A crowd had gathered. Women were singing, children were dancing. Everyone looked excited. Adana stood at the back, trying to see who was coming. Then the procession appeared. At the center walked a man in fine clothes, looking healthy and successful. Adana's heart stopped. It was Chidi. For a brief moment, pure joy flooded through her. He had returned. But then she saw the woman beside him, holding his arm and smiling. A bride. He was bringing home a wife. Adana felt like the ground had opened beneath her feet. She could not move. She could not breathe. The drums that sounded so joyful now felt like they were mocking her. As Chidi walked past, their eyes met. She saw shock in his face, then shame, then he quickly looked away. He did not stop. He did not greet her. He simply walked past as if she was a stranger. The procession moved on. The singing faded. But Adana remained standing there long after everyone had left. 2 years of waiting crashed down on her all at once. Every letter she had treasured, every suitor she had rejected, every night she had prayed for his return. All of it was for nothing. That night, Adana could not sleep. Before dawn, she went to the compound where Chidi had been taken. She needed answers. She needed to understand. Chidi was there, looking uncomfortable. When he saw her, guilt covered his face. "Why?" Adana asked simply. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. Chidi could not meet her eyes. "The city was hard," he said quietly. "I was lonely. I struggled. Then I met Blessing. Things just happened. And your promises to me?" Adana asked. He looked away. "I never forced you to wait," he said. Those words hurt more than anything else. He was right. He had never forced her. She had chosen to wait because she believed in his words. But now he made it sound like it was her mistake. The pain was unbearable. Adana left that compound and walked through the village in a daze. People stared at her with pity. Some women whispered that she should have accepted other offers. Some men shook their heads and said love was foolish. Every comment felt like a knife. But the deepest pain was not from the village gossip. It was the realization that she had given 2 years of her life to someone who had forgotten her. Adana made a decision. She could not stay in Gaboko anymore. Every corner reminded her of broken promises. Every face looked at her with pity. She needed to leave. 3 months later, at the start of the farming season, Adana packed a small bag and left. Her grandmother cried but understood. Sometimes healing requires distance. The city was difficult. Adana found work as a house help, then learned to sew, and eventually started her own small business selling vegetables in the market. Life tested her strength every day. Some nights she cried from exhaustion and loneliness. But slowly, Adana changed. She learned to depend on herself. She made new friends who did not know her painful past. She discovered that she was stronger than she had ever imagined. 3 years after leaving Gaboko, Adana met Emeka. He was a mechanic who came to buy vegetables from her stall. He was not the most handsome man, but he was kind and steady. He made her laugh. He asked about her day and actually listened to her answers. Emeka did not rush her. He did not make grand promises. He simply showed up consistently. He helped her carry heavy loads. He fixed things in her small room without being asked. He proved his care through actions, not just words. With Emeka, love felt different. It did not feel like waiting or hoping or making excuses. It felt peaceful and safe. 5 years after leaving Gaboko, news reached Adana that her grandmother was very sick. She had to return home. When she arrived, the village looked smaller than she remembered. During her grandmother's funeral, she saw Chidi. He looked older and tired. Life had clearly not been easy for him. When their eyes met, he looked down in shame. Later, he approached her. He tried to apologize, to explain, to express regret. Adana listened quietly. When he finished, she smiled gently. I hope life treats you well, she said simply and walked away. There was no anger left, no bitterness, no pain. What happened had shaped her, but it no longer controlled her. As Adana stood in the village that had once been her whole world, she understood something important. Not every person you love is meant to stay. Some people come into your life to teach you lessons, not to give you forever. She had waited for Chidi, but in losing him, she had found herself. She had learned that her worth was not determined by who chose her. She had learned that waiting for someone who does not value you is not love, but self-betrayal. Adana returned to the city, to Emeka, to the life she had built with her own hands. She had not lost love in Gaboko, she had lost an illusion, and in exchange she had gained wisdom, strength, and eventually real love. Sometimes the greatest gift is not getting what you waited for, but discovering you no longer need it.